Hello, this is my video on the personal self-assessment survey. Now, I didn't want to go in order because some things I felt more strongly about than others and I had more opinions on. So I want to talk about personal biases for a minute first. There's a lot that people have, even in general. I think that they think like special education students come from a certain background or a certain ethnicity or something like that, and that's simply not true. Come from all walks of life, and I think that if you have that preconceived bias, that it affects how you treat the student and how you go about, helping them improve and do better for themselves. So, um, often if you have a wide range of special education students in your classroom, then that would get rid of that bias. And you would learn, okay, well, Johnny comes from an upper middle class family and, Lucy doesn't, but at the same time, disabilities don't have biases. They go all across the board, and you'll have to treat each one of them differently. And sometimes the feedback you get from parents, etc., will be different, but at the same time, you treat them all the same and you try to advance them all the same. Some dispositions that I personally possess are diversity. I haven't come from a very diverse background myself, so I believe that gives me empathy. And the fact that I come from a different socioeconomic background that I live in now, I believe that helps me realize that, like I said, not everybody comes from the same walks of life, but we all deserve to be treated the same, and that doesn't really have any reason, that doesn't affect the reason you have a disability. It can happen to anyone. Educators should definitely be open to different learning styles. Some students are visual learners, some are audible learners, some prefer to write things down, some prefer, to act things out or whatever. And it's important that we learn what helps each individual student learn most effectively, just like it does for us. I'm horrible at taking tests, but I'm very good at articulating things. So if you ask me a question, a lot of times I'll be able to explain it to you, but I would never be able to write it down. The special education teacher's role should be ethical, professional. That could go as far as confidentiality. We're not gossiping about our students. We're not sharing information that isn't relevant. But that being said, you will work collaboratively as a team, and it's important that everybody in your team, including other teachers or special people who come see the student, that they all are on the same board and they all know the same things about the student and work together. And it's important that the student knows that you're all working together as well to help them. Once you get to know your students, you will come up with a plan for them to improve. There's no hopeless cases. Believe it or not, I've actually been around many special education teachers who seem just kind of burnt out from their job, or maybe they just aren't into it anymore, who actually say, I can't do anything with them. There's always something you can do. Sometimes it might take the entire year, but like I said, everybody learns differently. You can always try to find something to bond you with your student. It's going to be different. Just observe them, find out something from the other people who work with them, their families, of what they're like, and that in turn will help you come up with a plan that will work best for their improvement and for their gain. As for advancing, you're going to share this information with their future teachers. So anything that you learn will carry on with them to their next grade, and same thing with things that have happened in the past. It's important to keep up with that. That's why there's extended school year, so they don't have that lapse over the summer. It only takes one person to make an impact on the student's life, so that could be you. And if each person thinks that could be them, then that student's in for a great education, because every single person that works with them thinks that they are the one that can make the change. I feel that reflection is very important. There's a lot of things, mistakes that you've made, things you've learned from. It's never a bad thing. Constructive criticism is never a bad thing. Reflection is never a bad thing. Admitting you're wrong, changing things is never a bad thing. All it does is help you become a better person and help you deal effectively with future students and other teachers in the future. Social needs and cultural diversity are also important. Students will have different social needs. Some will be toileting by themselves, others will not. Some are nonverbal, others are not. So that affects how they interact with other students and with you. And some of them have different beliefs, things that they cannot eat. These are all things that need to be incorporated into their daily care. You are the person they see sometimes the most, even more than their parents, depending if their parents work or where they're coming from. So you want to have a well-rounded experience with them. It's been talked about, and I have said in assignments that I've done, that a lot of teachers feel left out. They feel excluded, as do their students. So it's very important to be friendly and and maintain professionalism. I'm a substitute teacher, and I have a student in my class right now who comes in and he is nonverbal, and I always make sure to say hi to him and go over and talk to him, and that sets an example for the other students and lets him know that, even as a substitute, that I'm glad he's there. And same with teachers, always say hi to them. Some of them don't even know who you are because you're locked away in like a dungeon of the school. I've seen some settings like that. So, say hi, let them know who you are, ask how they're doing. Sometimes even mention your students. It's also important to take your students to events that are school wide if they can handle it. Some will not be able to handle noise. Or a low lull of whatever's going on, but it's important to at least make the attempt to let everybody know and your student know that you're inclusive in the whole school, not just in the classroom or not just with you. This can also be said for community involvement. It's important to take them on, CBIs, community events, so that the community sees them as well and knows that, we're all part of the same team. We're all here together. And that gets them, especially a lot of times their parents are not taking them out in community. I'm sure that must be difficult for them. Whereas, you're one-on-one. They might have other children. You usually have an aide with your classroom. So you have a lot of assistance. And it's important to get them out there so they have that socialization and they see what the world is like in case they don't always get it. Now, if you're not committed to being a teacher, it's probably not going to work out. Nobody's going to be in this profession if they don't want to do it. In my opinion, teachers are notoriously underpaid sometimes. So you really have to love what you're doing. I mean, I do. I'm going back to school in my 40s to do something that I love. So obviously I'm not going to make that commitment without wanting to continue that. Most of us have student loans. Student loans are expensive. So you can guarantee that special education teachers are very special and are really in it because they want to make a difference.